This program is intended to assist in training the operator of Hobart equipment and is a supplement to the instruction manual. The instruction manual provided with your machine has ML numbers printed on the cover. Be sure the ML number agrees with the number stamped on the data plate on the machine. For more information, always refer to the instruction manual. Replacement manuals can be obtained from your local Hobart office. The Hobart Automatic Bone Dust Remover, or ABR, quickly removes bone dust and particles from meat cuts, cleaning both sides of the cut at the same time. It eliminates the need for hand scraping, saving time and labor, and increasing productivity in supermarket meat departments and other meat processing operations. In the next few minutes, you will learn procedures for the Hobart Automatic Bone Dust Remover, including parts identification and setup, operating procedures, equipment shutdown and cleaning, and minor maintenance procedures. With the Hobart Automatic Bone Dust Remover, or ABR, meat cuts are carried by an in-feed conveyor between two scraper assemblies housed in cages. The scraper assemblies rotate over blades that clean the bone dust and particles from the scrapers and drop them into removable trays. The cleaned meats are carried from the unit by an output conveyor. Designed to be used near a meat saw, the ABR is mounted on casters for easy movement. The major components of the ABR include the in-feed conveyor, the two cages that hold the scraper assemblies, the small main cage, and the larger swing cage, the two scraper assemblies that clean the meat, the blades that clean the scraper assemblies, the removable scrap trays, the output conveyor belt and frame, the swing housing unit, the main housing unit, and the base and conveyor unit. The ABR is powered by a half-horsepower motor. To set up the Hobart ABR, first set the two cage pivot pins to the out position. Also set the three adjusting knobs to the out position. Lift up the swing head and set the gap adjusting knob, the upper knob, to the out position. Next, find the main cage, the one with the smaller diameter ring gears. Make sure the flange bearing is in correct position on the cage roller and that the white locking tabs are in position to hold the bottom roller. Then put the main cage in place and lock the pivot pin by turning it counterclockwise. The swing cage is installed in the same way as the main cage. The scraper assemblies are installed next. The one with the light gray handle goes into the swing cage, the one with the dark gray handle into the main cage. Both scraper assemblies are installed the same way. Insert the scraper assembly into its cage. Reach into the cage to support the assembly and slide the handle end of the scraper into the slot in the support. Then connect the bayonet slot to the drive hub. Turn the scraper back and forth to make sure it is properly connected to the drive hub. The blade should rotate less than a quarter turn. After the scraper assemblies are installed, turn the main cage adjusting knob from out to 0. Then push the swing cage handle to the left and turn the swing cage adjusting knob from out to 0. You must push the handle to the left while making this adjustment, or the swing cage will remain forward rather than being adjusted by the knob. The blades are installed next. The blade with the light gray handle goes into the swing cage, the one with the dark gray handle into the main cage. Both blades are installed the same way. Insert the blade into its cage, hooking the end of the blade around the pin at the rear of the machine. Then slip the blade into the slotted hole at the front of the machine and set the handle pin in the slotted position above the arrow. The scrap pans are installed next. Like the scraper assemblies and blades, they are color-coded for easy reassembly. Move the blade handles from the position above the arrow to the in position and inset each pan in its appropriate cage. Install the in-feed conveyor by inserting the pin on the front side into the hole in the main support. Then lower the backside down over the mating pin and let the conveyor rest on the main cage gears. Make sure it is seated properly on the ring gears. The mid-frame conveyor is installed next by inserting the first set of pins on the conveyor into the slot on the fixed portion of the conveyor frame. Then slide the conveyor down to insert the second set of pins. To install the belt, fold the top of the mid-frame conveyor up, slide the belt over the frame, and align it with the top and bottom rollers. Then fold down the top of the conveyor to tighten the belt. Then slide the belt tray and support onto the pins at the end of the mid-frame conveyor. To fold the ABR for moving or storage, first tilt up the in-feed conveyor and hook the hole in the rear guide over the pivot stud. Pull off the output conveyor scrap pan and support. Fold up the end of the mid-frame conveyor to release belt tension. Pull the mid-frame section outward and lift slightly to release the first set of pins from the slot. Then let the conveyor hang down on the remaining set of pins. The scrap pan and support can be placed in the slack loop of the belt. In operating the Hobart ABR, these two cage adjusting knobs regulate the amount of scrape applied to each cut of meat. Increasing the setting number increases the amount of scrape. If all areas of the meat are not being properly cleaned, the cage adjusting knob setting should be increased. If meat is not flowing smoothly through the machine or if meat cuts are hanging up, the setting should be decreased. For most cuts of meat, it's best to begin with settings between 0 and 1. The gap knob controls the minimum distance between the machine cages. It should be set at A for all cuts less than 1.5 inches thick. For operating the ABR, set both the blades to the in position. At the end of the day, or if the ABR is not going to be used for an extended period of time, the blades must be returned to the position above the arrow. The scraper clusters will be temporarily distorted if the blades are left in the in position when the machine is idle for several hours. To start the machine, pull the red switch knob. To stop the ABR, push the knob. The life of the scraper clusters will be increased if the machine is turned off when not in use. For best cleaning results, meat cuts should be placed on the conveyor thin edge first. If they are fed crosswise, the thin edge may not be completely cleaned. Also, meat cuts with projecting bones should not be placed on the conveyor, so the projecting bone is fed in first. From time to time, you will need to empty the scrap pans and belt tray and put them back in the machine. At least once a day, and preferably twice a day, the Hobart automatic bone dust remover should be cleaned. It can be cleaned with a high-pressure hose or at a sink. Warning, for high-pressure spray down, the ABR power plug should be changed to a suitable waterproof plug for use with a matching receptacle. The receptacle must be located away from the spray area. For hose cleaning, first unplug the power cord and remove the 3 scrap pans and 3 shields for sink cleaning. Then raise the swing head to its maximum clearance for cleaning while turning the gap knob to lock. Remove the blades by squeezing each handle spring and turning till the flat on the blade shaft matches the slot. Slide the shaft out of the slot and tile the back end up to disengage the pin at the back of the machine. Clean the blades in a sink. Then plug the machine into a waterproof receptacle. Start the machine and hose it while it's running. Before cleaning the ABR, make sure detergents and sanitizing agents used are suitable for aluminum surfaces. Corrosive products or those with high concentrations of chlorine, ammonia, or iodine may discolor the machine surface. If you clean the entire machine by sink, you will need to remove other components in addition to the pans, shields, and blades. Begin by sliding the in-feed conveyor toward the front of the machine and lifting it off. Turn both cage adjustment knobs to out. Then fold up the top end of the mid-frame conveyor to release belt tension and remove the belt. Take out the scraper assemblies by rotating them in either direction and pulling outward. Remove the cages by turning the cage pivot pins to out. Then take each cage by its handle, pull forward, and lift the cage up and out. Each removable part should be immersed in warm, soapy water and cleaned with a brush. Clean one part at a time and avoid stacking parts on top of each other to prevent damage to scrapers, ring gears, or blades. About once a week, all removable parts should be disassembled from the machine and cleaned individually. Warning: unplug the machine power cord before beginning any maintenance procedure. Each of the 2 scraper assemblies in the Hobart ABR consists of 18 individual scraper clusters that can be individually replaced as needed. Any cluster with more than 2 adjacent broken blades should be replaced. The scraper bushing also should be replaced when its outside diameter is worn down more than a 32nd of an inch. To take the scraper assembly apart, remove the end cap from the handle and take out the spring bolt, the spring, the handle, and the bushing. Then remove the scraper clusters from the shaft. When reinstalling the clusters on the shaft, make sure each cluster fits into the next one. There are alignment buttons on each side, and the clusters should be assembled button to button. Note that the scraper clusters are positioned in opposing directions on the main and swing scraper assemblies. Make sure you install clusters in the proper direction. On the main assembly, the tabs face the drive in. On the swing assembly, they face away from it. After replacing clusters, install the bushing, handle, spring bolt, and end cap. Use a coin to tighten the spring bolt and end cap. They only need to be hand tight. Sometimes the ring gears inside the cages get bent with normal use. They can usually be straightened by finger pressure. If not, they must be removed from their cages for straightening or replacement. Here's how to disassemble a cage to straighten a ring gear or replace a pinion gear or roller bearing if they are loose or worn. First, turn the 2 white locking tabs to free the bottom roller. Then lift out the ring gears and rollers. To remove the cage bearing, turn it to clear the retaining pins and lift it from the cage frame. The pinion gear can now be removed. To reassemble the cage, put the pinion gear in the cage frame, install the bearing, and turn it until it is seated in the retaining pins. Put the ring gears over 2 of the rollers and set the rollers in place on the cage frame. Seat the ring gears in the slots of the rollers. Put the bottom roller on the rings and lower it into position in the bearing slots of the frame. Lock the lower roller in position with the locking tabs, being careful not to force it. Finally, be sure the plastic inner liner is in place inside the cage. In operating the ABR, the condition of the blade edges is important. They should be dull and free of protruding nicks. Any raised projections can damage the scraper clusters and should be removed. About once every week, the housing drain plug should be pulled to check for condensation and allow it to drain out. If the drains contain more than about an ounce of water, you should contact your Hobart service office. And if more than a few drops of oil drain out, Do not operate the machine until it is checked by a Hobart service technician. The ABR requires no external lubrication, but it should not be run for long periods without meat passing through the ring gears. The machine needs animal fat as a lubricant for contact parts. Once a year, the drive chain should be lubricated and the transmission grease checked by a Hobart service technician. Conveyor belt tension can be adjusted using the bolts on each side of the conveyor. Turn the bolts out to tighten the belt or in to loosen it. Tension should be tight enough to pull a 10-pound load without the belt slipping. However, the belt should stop when grasped at the top roller. When properly used, cleaned, and maintained, the Hobart ABR automatic bone dust remover will provide long, reliable, and useful service. This concludes operator training for the Hobart ABR automatic bone dust remover. Please refer to your instruction manual if you have additional questions regarding the use, operation, or troubleshooting of this machine, or contact your local Hobart sales and service office.